This video contains content sponsored by John Wilson Blades and MK Blades. Opinions discussed in this video do not reflect the views of John Wilson or MK.
Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Leese. Your favorites are here, Jonathan Byer, La Shy, and as always, I don't really feel like doing the Jenny role, so La is going to be here and telling us to move it along.
Yeah.
All right, my shimmy. All right, this is our drum roll, please. Ladies, 2017 Worlds recap. Dave, each year you have an annual fight with someone from the figure skating world. People go a little nuts at various events throughout the year. Last year, Diva Wagner told us that she was not injured going into Worlds, and then won her silver medal, and then decides to tell us that she actually was very injured with a hamstring situation.
We had someone in her rink that was giving us daily reports last year. We knew very well that she was injured.
Yeah. What happened this year?
Well, Skating Protocol, our friend Mark Lee, posted something. Well, it started that Jonathan and I started judging, and people felt that because we were giving honest opinions about what we felt, that we were not being pro-US, but we put the skaters in second and third in ice dance in the event that started this whole conversation.
Mm-hmm. What started it?
Was the ice dance components judging video from Four Continents. Now, if you want me to lie and say that Chalk and Bates and the Shibutanis are better than Virtue and Moyer, I'm not your guy. You know, I'm not hired for Ice Network, and I'm not Jackie Wong. I'm not going to play that role. I'm not going to host. I'm not doing it, all right? That's not what we're here for.
That's a very specific thing. Like the PJ Kwong, it definitely has her Canada thing,
yes.
You know. And to me, the joy of something like skating, something like classical music, is it transcends borders.
Yes.
So, I'll forever remember I went with my friend Vanessa to Skate America in 2013, and Mao was skating, whom I adore and was rooting for, and I think it was Ashley was also skating. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for Mao. I really hope she wins. And she was like, not the American? And I was like, who cares? I actually, despite what people think about bias or whatever, I genuinely just have my favorite skaters. Sometimes they tend to be from certain countries or not from other countries, but I truly don't care. I think an art form, an objective art form, the joy of it is it doesn't have to do with what country is being represented. You know where I root for America? In luge, where I know nothing about it. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll root for the American. Why not? But with skating, I love just rooting for who I like. Sometimes they're from America, sometimes they're not. So
you have to realize who you're talking about. I went into my second grade class and said, I really hope that Gordiev and Grinkov win tonight. And people were looking at one, who's this gay? And two, what? You know, and so, yeah, I don't understand. So Mark Lee posted a video, and a coach at the World Championships, he posted a video of the ladies' combinations. Now,
he's very fair.
We have viewers from all over the world. We comment. We are considered, we have been called anti-Russia. We have been called, I was yelled at for...
America, yeah.
I've been yelled at for comments about Miyahara, everyone under the sun over my time covering skating. So if you're going to say that but then the kicker is that this coach said to me, well, you've traveled to rinks in the U.S. and it should be gracious and overlook, basically I'm pro-U.S., and then I think about how disingenuous this is and how manipulative some of this is, because I see this same person then going to Synchro Worlds and only posting a video of Team USA, but they're being fake pro-US, they're going to Synchro Worlds to curry favor within the USFS, and I just said to this person, I will cover your skater. I've ignored other people leaving you and making the world team. Look, we are
Subtle, Dave. Subtle.
we are look, we are going to cover skating how we see it. That is what we are doing. We have a worldwide audience. That is how we are supposed to. And I was at a seminar, and I was talking about this to someone who said that they had heard about this because people in skating talk. So they said, but they love what you're doing because they love Mr. Jonathan Byer giving us skating perspective from the outside world, and that he gets that it's about performance, and that oftentimes people in skating become too insular, and that it just becomes this culture where you can't say that the U.S. is not doing well, where actually, look, if someone's combination looks like it's questionable, it's our job to point out that maybe we got a gift that time. That's all I'm saying.
Which happens. Some
Yeah.
people get gifts. Sometimes people from every country get gifts, and sometimes people from every country get slammed. It's about who's calling, and it's about the point is to educate people like me. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like, well, let's look at this specifically and see how they called it this time versus how we might have called it. And it's just a discussion. And again, in no other sport would this be a thing.
Yeah, as I said
Yeah.
to that person, this is, at the end of the day, we're covering a sport in reality. I also think it was unfair that Ashley Wagner was the only lady at the World Championships that got an edge call. So where she might have gotten a benefit on a combination, she certainly didn't in that. And
Right.
that's also something that needs to be looked at. And I think that you have to point out both things because this is a sport and there are quite a few ladies who have quite a few questionable edge calls. So that was this year's fight. So if we are not in favor this week, we can only hope that we will be in favor next week. Who are we not ticking off? This has been how many years, how many fights? Really,
Do you
Jonathan.
remember what Linda Frediani said about Lisa Marie Allen? Well, a couple things. One of which was she found as she became more popular, inevitably people come out of the woodwork and throw their shade at you, and so be it. Onward and upward.
Onward and upward, it's happened every year, as Law said. So, yes. It started the first year is because someone thought that I was tweeting when it was Jenny throwing shade. So, that is... But yes...
You did fight Phil Hirsch one year, and now you guys are like BFF, so...
Listen... Phil Hirsch and Christine Brennan got in such a big fight about the 98 Olympics. Phil Hirsch is one of those people that you like to argue with and you still respect. And, he's your uncle. I want Phil Hirsch to come to Thanksgiving so that we can all talk about, French literature and yell at each other and say all sorts of wonderful things. Come on. This is,
Pictures of his cats. Yeah,
Yes!
okay.
He goes back to his cats and his bike rides and some very tweets that I was laughing at. I have to say. So,
Yeah.
In fact, I screenshotted the one about the pairs, and I said to said coach, do you yell at Phil Hirsch when he says this? Because, really.
And their response was yes.
Their
He
response was crickets.
He was in rare form this week. I appreciated it. And he obviously knows skating, as does Christine Brennan. But do you sometimes feel like the reporters on skating don't actually know what they're talking about?
So they definitely don't know the IJS, and they definitely don't know...
Who does? Come on.
I think that Christine Brennan knows the big picture. I think that Phil knows the big picture. Phil's really good at bringing in the ratings with the other sports. Christine's really good for the controversial narrative, anything about feminism.
They're catering to a non-skating audience also. Having written for the Tribune and then for USA Today, they have to cater a little more generically, I think, as how they cover it, versus you're able to really dive into nitty-gritty that the layman may not, be able to keep up with.
But I think that, people almost appreciate that they're not going to get into the nitty gritty on whether or not something is rotated or something is a level or something should get this score or that. Outside of Yuna versus Sotnikova, they're not really going to know. And I think that there's a problem, actually, because now that no one is calling anyone on this anymore, that when someone does, it becomes a big shock. But this used to happen all the time. And it's actually good for the sport for there to be debate. I think that, look, not everyone's going to agree. 9 judges. Debate gives people more publicity. All publicity is good publicity. So that is something. But I think that, Ice Network, the reporters, they write down what happens on the protocol sheet and what they are told to say. So if that's what you want to read, go read there. So that's kind of how I think. But no, there are not a lot of people that know too much outside, how to cover it. And that's just the reality. So
it's funny with Worlds this year. I found myself in just the time difference. I found myself watching Ice Network and then watching the NBC Sports commentary. Ben Augusto, Tan Feldman, Ryan Bradley, John Coughlin, we don't know which is which.
They do have similar voices, and they both have that forced positive commentary, yes.
Right, and then not watching the primetime Tara and Johnny because I'd already seen it.
Yeah.
Right.
I rarely watch Tara and Johnny because we've already seen the event by the time that it airs.
Right.
On Sunday, we already usually film the recap. But I will say that I thought that Ben Augusto was great. I thought that he was fair.
Yeah.
I thought that he was obviously knowledgeable in conveying those opinions. And it's funny because he actually brought the truth out of Tanith. Because Tanith kind of will match whoever she's with. And, I don't think that she's going to sound so PC if she's next to someone giving an opinion. And with Ice Dance, she lets her opinion slide in there more.
Right.
I find that Ryan Bradley is afraid to say the truth. He's almost afraid that at certain points, they censor themselves because of this culture within skating. And I was trying to tweet about this. We're probably in trouble for that too. But I was saying that Ryan Bradley sometimes was even afraid to say that Duhamel and Radford have had a bad season. And they spend so many times trying to talk around it. You can say that, although they were world champions the last 2 years, it's not their best year.
Right.
Move along. He said that he was burned out prior to this event. Moving along.
Well, even the Eurosport guys who are very insightful and very positive, they would say things like, yeah, she's lost everything this year. Maybe she can do better now. Let's see.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
I think Johnny usually is pretty honest in general. He does not sugarcoating stuff.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yes.
I'll in the ladies' event. Yeah.
Yes. La, lead us through. Who do you want to
Diva
talk about?
Wagner.
All right.
All right. We're going to start with our girl, Diva Wagner. Finishing 7th here. How much do you go off of Ashley's hair color prior to an event? Determining where she will place.
I have to say that the Nationals' black hair, it's funny because she was a little. You always go off the teleconference and you listen to hers. It's always an event, and she didn't seem as happy before Nationals. And another former competitor of hers is like, well, she might be feeling a little bit stressed, maybe a little insecure going into the event.
She had a breakup.
When she came with jet black hair that looked like too dark for her particular skin tone, I thought, oof. Oof, this is scary Ashley. This has not been a good couple of months. Her hair color is going to be different from time to time. I'm always curious what her hair is going to look like.
Which has been your favorite look?
I like her a medium auburn to a brown. I think maybe some blonde highlights. I think that she's gone too blonde in the past. She's gone too blonde. Look, she's always going to have a different color. What do you think about this ridiculous conversation that you're far too above, Jonathan? What do you think?
Okay. I just remember that she was giving that press quote where she's like, I have no idea how I stack up. Let's see how Worlds goes, and then I'll know. But I was like, well, what about the whole Grand Prix? I felt like that also lets you know. Again, this is one when we were talking about in versus out. She works well. Moulin Rouge worked. Hip, hip, chin, chin, she likes because it's out. It's not in. And so I think we lost a lot of those performance execution points in general here. And the triple flip single toe and the double axel double toe, she lost 7 points right out of the gate on the opening of her long. And there were a lot of, as we look now at more GOEs, hers is kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. You look at Evgenia, and it's just plus, 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 plus. And this was just kind of a hodgepodge. And I just don't know how she can change that at this juncture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She talked a lot about going after nationals, going and working with Shea on adding the transitions and the choreography and all of that and trying to get those points. But here it seemed more like she should have stayed and worked with Raph on getting those combinations around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've kind of felt this year that her body has looked like not as quick twitch as it did in the past, and I felt that she looked physically stronger. Last year, I feel like the jumps looked smaller this year. The skating, to me, looked slower, this year. And I think that that's one of the big areas is that if she is going to make a run, she's going to have to get really healthy, really flexible, and in really great physical shape for next year. And I don't know if it's a come down of after peaking and going really hard the last 2 seasons, is that I felt like maybe, she talked about, she wasn't doing the Bielman at the beginning of the year, and she and Raph were talking because in Cry at Skate America, and I kind of wondered if, things were just nagging. And I think that if she's going to compete against the best in the world, these ladies have all been trained to do these triple combinations that have never come naturally to her, and to do these jumps. And when we were looking at Ashley, I think we can just go into it now. When we were judging the points, I didn't find many areas to go over a +1 on the GOE. I thought that the free skate had better quality than the short. I thought the short was really lacking. The spins are really slow, and they have okay positions, not great positions. So I don't think you could go above a +1, even with a well-done spin. The jump landings, Michelle went to Ralph and had those like curve luts, had those nice long edges that she did out. None of Ashley's jumps are landed that spectacularly, especially for sometimes the solo loop with the threes going into it. So she's not getting really any positive grades of execution on any of her jumping passes. So I think that there's a lot to work on there.
I did for doing GOEs for the long. I gave her a 2 for the double axel that opened the program, and I was kind of like, oh, maybe we're going to be okay. And then it was quickly apparent that it was going downhill from there. That was the only one I could justify a higher GOE on, and the rest for me kind of lost out. But this also happens, she is a performer, right? And this happened to Jeremy also when he skated to Muse. Your internal pulse is slower, you're feeling it, and especially if she's focusing on choreography and transitions more and things like that, she's kind of like doing this, which doesn't have an attack energy to it. And I feel like she really needs that attack energy if she's going to finish out these jumps. It needs a more aggressive approach, which I'm afraid to say La La Land won't provide for her either.
Interesting.
But the short will.
So her short program was way too fast for how she was moving, and the beat of her music was way faster than her movements. So that didn't seem to work either.
Hip Hip Chin Chin was also a program that she had a lot of struggles with. She blamed it on the dress, but let's be real.
Yeah.
Like, she had some issues with that. So I think it'll be interesting, but you're right. And I think that she does well with the more bombastic. Look, La said she's just going to go back to Moulin Rouge anyway for the actual Olympics.
I felt like I was expecting that. Third time's a charm. Yeah,
maybe for the actual event, she'll do a Mino and Sand, and we'll see that program there. And no one would hate it. I think
the last Olympics, maybe she'll just change it in the 11th hour.
You're right, though, and that I think that she does need an attack type program. She likes to be the underdog. She likes to be a fighter. This Inish program, Jeremy had focus issues. So him slowing down the technique, not a horrible thing for Jeremy Abbott. Ashley's a different kind of animal, in competition. But I definitely think that she needs to work the quality of the individual elements. I think she really needs to work on the spins because as we're going to compare to Karen, Karen's getting +2s and +3s on most of her spins. So even if she's not landing all of her jumps, she's picking up points. And the right music, I didn't find much that there were a lot of places to go above 8.5 for Ashley. I think she got an 8.75 in for one of the programs for components. But
I gave her an 8.75 for interpretation, but they were lower than I feel like she could have.
But this program didn't really call for that. I mean, she's performing and she has quality, but the interpretation wasn't there when you stack it up against the other ladies, and I don't think that this program was ever it. And I think, I know that may be anti-American for saying, but, this was not the best music for Ashley. So I think when they pick it for next season, you have to go with your strategy. And for her, she needs to get the performance points because she was losing them there, losing it on the spins, losing them the jump landings. Look, she's never going to get the transition marks. Let's be real. That's not going to be her strength. So she needs to maximize in the other areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I loved this program of hers, but this was her weakest performance of it, and she just lost it after she singled that toe and didn't draw you in. But how did you score, Karen?
It's interesting. I had Ashley at a 63 for the short, and I had Karen up at a 69. And I had Ashley about a 117 for the free, and I had Karen at a 128. And it's for Karen. She wasn't getting points in the components, but she wasn't losing that many to Ashley either when I had to actually put them. But Karen gained points on the landings of when she does that Lutz toe. The Lutz is huge, so even if the landing of the toe isn't as good, she doesn't often lose as many points as you would think. When she does her solo jumps and does them quite well, she's picking up points. She even picks points up on the double axel, half loop, triple sal, but she's really ranking up points on the spins, and that is an area where Ashley certainly needs to focus, because Karen is becoming a contender.
I gave her a +3 on the final spin. Karen's spins are really, I really enjoyed them. When we were looking at the criteria, especially for the GOE, I was like, ooh, yes.
Yeah. She's a great spinner. Her overall performance, though, I thought she had it. I thought it was going to be a clean program, and I rarely shout out loud when someone falls. I think the last time was the 2010 Olympics when Jeremy Abbott's short program, he popped the triple axel. Mm-hmm. Did he pop it or fall?
He popped.
I think he popped it. When she fell on that second Lutz, I was like, ah!
Yeah. Although really here it wouldn't have made too much of a difference,
not
right?
At all. Yeah. But it's just I think it was a loss of concentration. I think she got ahead of herself and thought, I'm going to do 2 clean programs at my first World Championships.
See, and that's where I think that she needs to work with Marina for next year, because Marina's always been able to get her ice dance teams and her pairs to focus and to really deliver the job. And I thought that Marina really helped Patrick Chen, who was one of the hottest messes in skating in 2016. In 2017, he was at least focused and having a higher percentage ratio. We never saw him nail it out of the park in the free, but he was at least in the game. And
Canadians was close. He was pretty close. Canadians, yeah.
He came really close this year, and I think overall that was a success. So I think that she, working with Tammy, could help make Karen confident. And I also think that having competition with Gracie in the ring could help both of them. I think that could be a really positive dynamic.
In general, something I'm curious about Karen's jumps, so chime in, friends, is, okay, so obviously the second triple Lutz was a no-go. But things like the triple loop and stuff, there is that awkward, clumsy, thuddy, kind of messy landing at times. Do we think that's anything in particular? Because it seems to be a recurring issue that doesn't necessarily just happen on a particular jump, but on her jumps in general. When they're not right on, they kind of have this. They don't encourage confidence. She's A, going to get them every time, or B, I feel like I can't really go too much above a +1 ever because there's always a hint of it there.
Is it that she's landing a little flat-footed?
Yeah, she lands on the whole blade. Yeah.
It's for such a tiny gal, it's a big, kind of unelegant landing.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just interested to see what next season brings for her. So, Jonathan, can I put you on the spot?
Oh, it depends.
Pick out her music for next season.
Well, it depends what quality.
That's this question for every skater, by the way, but I'll just keep it to Karen.
The question, I guess, is what qualities we want to bring out. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if you give her beautiful, French piano music, things like Debussy and all this sorts of stuff, it will be this magical shimmery thing that she can match with her spins, and she has well-placed arms and things like that. So any of the French piano repertoire would work well for her. I wouldn't do anything too heavy. The Russian music would be too heavy. Heavy orchestral things would be too much for her. I think something that was like more effervescent. So like this like French conservatoire era would be like perfect for her.
All right. I would do that definitely for the short. No, for the long, don't shoot me. But I would actually consider some sort of a warhorse of like a Nessun Dorma type program where we could emphasize the spiral. I know you're cringing, but I'm just going to say why.
I agree. I can see it.
I think because Karen lands with the thud, I think that when you do these programs that are very like lighter and effervescent, I think that they work well for a short, but for a skater like Karen, who can get lost 2/3 way through the program, I don't want a Gracie Gold type moment with Daphne and Chloe. I would go towards a Nessun Dorma and try to get the crowd on her side, put the spiral on the swell of the music, try to get a split jump in there, do an Ina Bauer, really go like classic skating program, American, put the spiral at the right point of the Michelle Kwan in the music, and kind of go with it. That's what I would advise for Karen.
We should do like a whole show where we do this.
Do ask me about Shoma when we get to Shoma.
The off season TSL.
Okay.
We've decided that we're going to judge the 88 Olympics, Law, because we know that you don't get it, so you'll be bored, and we're going to judge it. So
no, she could get the 1980 Olympics. Come on, she gets Debbie's unitard and the short. Yeah. Okay.
Our third American, Mariah Bell, making her first world appearance. I have like this weird soft spot for her in my heart. I think she's like beautiful. I love the long lines. I just love her style. What'd you guys think? Working with RAF as a first year working with RAF, making the world team, silver medal, but winning the free skate at Skate America. I could go on and on. What did you guys think of this? Where is she going?
I'm interested whether Roth will put more focus on Mariah. He's going to have 4 contenders: Nathan, Ashley, Adam, and Mariah. I'm curious to see what Roth will do, because if you notice, Roth was very compassionate with Nathan Chen and like babying him. Not like babying him, but like he was very sympathetic.
He's protective
of Nathan Chen. Did you see when Ashley got off the ice? Roth was just very cold and barely looked at her after the free skate.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what his relationship with Mariah. I mean, I'm wondering if he thinks it's kind of over for Ashley's medal chances, and I'm curious if he will spend more time with Mariah, because he said
I think the interesting thing was at nationals, and this happens with voice teachers sometimes. You're like, oh, I hear so and so studying with you, and they're like, well, they just started. Mm-hmm. They just started. Hold on, and he kind of had that vibe where he was kind of distancing himself from her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that it was like going to Las Vegas.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. Like, he wasn't overselling. He wasn't.
Talk about being anti-American. You're supposed to prop up your skater when you're the coach.
Yeah,
he had a great line. If anyone out there like didn't see this, that he said that for nationals, Nathan was going to be like going to the moon. Mariah Bell was going to be like going to Vegas, like no idea what would happen, and that Ashley would just be like going to Kansas.
Well,
you take this in the context that like nationals was in Kansas City, so he meant like just being
there
at nationals, but it's like it's a little
on the nose.
Michael
Shanley's favorite line, because he saw me editing, to put up the interviews when I interviewed Raf, was that I don't know if Raphael thought I said or thought that all of the press was talking about Mariah as a young girl, because we went back and like checked the audio 12 times. I never referred to her as a young girl, but Raf said Mariah Bell is not a young girl. And he kept going on and on about this, about how she's an old dog already, and that he needs them younger. So,
well, because it kind of is passing the buck of responsibility, being like, it's too late. It's too late for me. In a way.
And now it's too
But he
late.
keeps saying, like, oh, I wish I had these people as kids. And first of all, if you talk to Ashley, she's been like, not that I've talked to her, just I listen to interviews.
You're really close. You're like Madison Chalk, basically.
If I went to rap as a kid, I would be broken. And if you look at the people that do like go to him as small children, they're not actually working with him. They're like working with the other people on his team. And then they're like, oh, I just moved to California to work with him and I'm not working with him. So I'm going back to
wherever. Yeah.
Chelsea. Anyway. So you know how Dave like wants to send everyone to Marina and wants Marina into this like Marta Caroli role?
I don't want to send everyone to Marina, but certain people.
I want everyone to go see Carolyn Silby or like some sort of just sports psychologist that's like gonna work. And
that blonde woman that Nancy was with that was in the documentary. Yes.
A good one.
Yeah.
I don't have any business cards on me. Like when Mariah gets off the ice and is like, oh my God, I was so nervous. And you're like, yes, you can be nervous, but also you're in 13th place. You have nothing to lose. Like, don't be nervous. Go out and attack.
Right.
That's what I want.
I mean, she's never been primed to be the girl, which is good and bad. So, Gracie, they plucked her off of a Skate Detroit, I think, when they started, when Mitch Moyer started sending her, when people from that area say this, they're like, she did that gold Rapon Lutz, and then all of a sudden they started, promoting her like Kanan LeDuc. Mariah hasn't been that person. She's kind of scrapped her way up. I think that she needs to believe in herself and a coach that does, and I think that it's going to take some time, but I think that this is obviously a step forward.
And I think you could say the same thing about Gracie and Karen.
I feel like Mariah is.
Yeah.
I feel like Mariah is the one in danger at the next Nationals, right? If a Paulina comes back, if Gracie puts it together, if any of these other girls, I think Mariah is very vulnerable. So I'm also intrigued now that we know she's doing Beauty and the Beast, which we have our own opinions about, but also is Roheen doing that? So. Roheen does so well for Jason. I don't know that they're a match made in heaven. So let's see. That will be an intriguing reveal.
I always find that there's something... When Roheen works for a skater like Jason, who's a lot like himself, it really brings out the best of what Roheen can do. I don't know, someone like Mariah's in this transitional phase where I don't know if she needs like a different input for her program, because she always seems to go a little bit tacky with all of her choices.
Insincere, because it doesn't fit her.
Titanic was not the right moment, and while she has a Nancy Kerrigan quality, Born on the 4th of July wasn't it. And East of Eden again dated. Beauty and the Beast. It's like you're missing the mark. It's like close, but no. So
yeah,
I would almost like to see her with the Shaylin and bring out that like sexy, sassy side.
Yeah.
So moving on to our Canadian ladies, doing very well here.
Yes.
I never would have guessed. I mean, it was a lovely surprise because I was in Canada during these, so like it was especially interesting.
I think I had Caitlin Osmond second in fantasy, but Gabby Daleman.
Yes.
Discuss.
Yeah. I mean, so Caitlin Osmond, I actually thought had the best short program overall, and I thought that had she had a more consistent season, I think that she would have been placed first. The thing I notice about Caitlin is that she kind of takes that spot that's reserved for the U.S. ladies when they do well. Maybe it's reserved for the North American ladies now to have a very Western type program appeal, and with that style of skating, I think that maybe what used to be reserved for the American ladies is now a North American thing in terms of style. If you're going to go one Russia, one North America, and one Japan, I think that Caitlin has that overall broad appeal to her skating. There are things I don't love, but there's a lot of very good things. I mean, her jumps, when she lands them, she racks up to +2s. Her spins are quite good. She has good skating skills, and she presents and projects well. And I think that the music that they picked for her, especially in the short, really did very well. Gabby is a real athlete. I think Brian's done a lot for her mind. I think that stylistically, if everyone does the best, I don't think that Gabby is in line to medal at the Olympics, but I think that she's a fighter and people make mistakes. So,
have you seen her skate in person?
Yes.
I have not seen Gabby in person.
Yes, I have.
Jumps exciting in person?
Yeah, I mean, she really peaks at Worlds. She was great last year at Worlds in Boston. That's when I saw her, and looking back, I was like, it seems a little outrageous, but she definitely peaks for Worlds, and she has that exciting attack.
It's exciting and sloppy at the same time. Like, there's a lot of good and a lot of things that you're like, and when she lands the jumps, you can kind of overlook them a bit. When she doesn't land the jumps, she tends to get hammered, like at Skate America.
Okay. Now, did either of you have her beating Osmond?
No.
I didn't judge, but I thought that she sort of capitalized on the moment a little bit more. And yes, without breaking down each element, thought she could have been second.
So when I actually went to judge it, again, Osmond had the short that was far superior. I put Osmond actually a little bit ahead of Medvedeva, but several points ahead of Gabby. I think that Osmond, again, the elements, the luts, certain, she really is cranking the points there. That things, nicer spin positions, things like that, a more sophisticated look.
The choreographed sequence, I was, she was losing GOE points for me on where Caitlin was doing better and things like that.
Gabby is very much Duhamel, the singles skater. I mean, that's... Yeah.
But kudos to both of them for not crumbling at all under the pressure. And
because I thought that actually when they placed so well in the short, then out comes every article. Because again, I was in Canada, so I was seeing more of it. They were like, 2 Canadian ladies, they could win 2 medals. And they kept going. And I was like, oh, you guys, the more they hype, this is going to be so sad when they explode tomorrow. And then all of a sudden they did deliver. It was very unexpected. And that they both did. It was kind of nice for them. Since we couldn't have a moment, it was nice to see them have a moment.
And we'll hear about it for the next 10 months. So
to the North.
They've earned it. They've earned it more than we have. So.
They did. They did. Yeah. Good for you, Canada. You know what, PJ Kwong, you gloat. Okay, so
exactly. Mr. Trent was really excited about it, I'm sure. Yeah. Yes. So,
but neither of them could catch Medvedeva. How high did you guys score her?
Medvedeva?
I had her at a 143, which I think, it was the highest of anyone in the free skate. I had her at a 143. In the short program, I had her at a 77. So that's. How about you, Jonathan?
The thing, so I gave her, again, it's all in this GOE. When I look at each element, especially in the long, although I gave her a 2 for that triple Lutz, because did she always do that big kick into it?
As she's gotten taller, it's gotten bigger, and it's on the wrong edge, so let's...
Yeah, so I was a little okay. It was so much more effortful. And the choreographic sequence at the end were they lacked power, but it was I don't know, where she's still clobbering them for me a little is in the PCS. I feel she's faster. I feel the transitions are much more complicated. You know what I mean? So she's still enough ahead.
She also skates the full program, you can tell, repeatedly. Where Linda said where she wears it out? I mean, it's almost like one movement. Again, the whole program is just a whole thing for her. It's not a bunch of individual parts. Osmond, each jump seems individually. We're going to Vegas on each jump.
It's compartmentalized. This was a big arc.
This is a big arc. She gets the points for me. Even the interpretation, as offensive as the theme can be. Look, the loop is my favorite element of the program. When she goes, she lands that loop, and then she's on the back edge. I mean, she is working these. interpretation points. I like when she walks down the arm. I'm into all of it. I mean, she is giving every ounce of her.
Yeah. And that gets you the points. Like you say, we were talking about this even with Chalk when we were giving her big performance points at Four Continents. It's like, well, we may not care for the material, but she's performing it.
Yeah.
You know, like she's committed. So, she's still quite a bit ahead for me.
You know, Jonathan, I was like trying to interpret it the way you said with like the briefcase, and I couldn't see it, but.
Well, that was more the subtext.
I
think it was the subtext of the Four Continents one in particular, which was a little different. But when she's like, oh, you forgot. Oh, okay, whatever. Yeah.
I'm like, where is this briefcase?
We never know. Is he going to call on the phone or who's calling at the end? It changes program to program.
Or is he dead?
Yeah, exactly. No, really, you didn't see it? She like goes, that's what she's running back for, I thought. So she waves goodbye, and then she runs back to get him something.
Why in all of the Overbook programs are we running across the ice? Like, who was Yulia looking at the beginning? Like, was it the Nazis? The parents? Like, what is going on? Look.
The judges.
What theme can we do next year? Like, what? Maybe the tsunami, like that big tsunami? That would be.
Look, she could do the Trump presidency.
Wait, you know what? Whatever we come up with won't be as funny as what it ends up actually being. So, it's like...
Well, speaking of that, let's move on to the next Russian lady, because, let's be real
this
here.
Was a moment.
This is not the first time that this has happened to Anna Pogorilaya. So...
No kidding.
As much as we want to say that we feel sorry for her and this was a bad skate, the Russian Fed is coming down hard on her for this. They took her out of the World Team Trophy. But I have to say that if I were having to get medals for the country and were responsible for that, I wouldn't send her either, because you literally don't know what is going to happen. And the fact that she doesn't protect her head when she falls makes me wondering, like, what is going on? You know, like, what? You talk about a sports psychologist. Protecting your body seems so innate. I mean, when she falls, she loses control of her body and throws herself on the ice. I wonder what is going on. What is your take on this, as you've done triple jumps?
Well, the best line ever is Christine Brennan saying the invisible middle linebacker comes in and just takes her out.
Yeah. Everyone gets so mad. They're like, well, she has injuries and she has this. Well, so do lots of people.
So does
everyone,
don't, honey. Yeah.
They don't do this. They don't do this.
It's not that she fell. It is not that she fell. It's that she throws herself on the ice and allows herself to, like, really risk concussions, injuries.
Yeah.
It's that, like...
Because... Now it's affecting the PCS. It's not just a negative thing, but it is a full-blown detractor. I can't.
It's sabotaging.
Yeah.
You know, like when you watched Oksana Bayul in Ice Wars after a while and wonder if we weren't dealing with a full deck of cards? Like, that is what I'm starting to...
Well, especially because of the grandstanding or whatever the dramatic Shayna was afterwards. She wouldn't leave the ice. She's kneeling on the ice.
Wait, my favorite text of the World Championships is when she posted the Finnish president giving her something on Instagram, and La goes, she's milking her meltdown. That, to me...
She took that opportunity to still be melodramatic about it.
But she went on ice. Now, John, you bombed a singing competition.
I've bombed plenty of things in my life.
Flying off that stage, or would you be, like, lying on the ice, soaking it in?
You disappear immediately. If it doesn't go right, like, don't draw everyone's attention to it. And she's not only drawing attention to it by the way in which she falls, but by, like, projecting this, like, horror to everyone. Like, it
put that drama in your performance, you'd be getting far more component points.
But the interesting thing is she really hasn't had a total meltdown like this, except for this long all season.
She had done so well this season that we had almost forgotten about the falls of last season,
And the short wasn't like as great as she has been, but she was still right up there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she blew it on the short, so, she had given up by the long. It was a very confusing situation.
So for both of you, if you were on, the Russian Federation, if you're a member of that person that's, votes on the Olympic team, would you send her?
No, and I think
Zagitova's eligible next year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And I think that's why she was staying on the ice for so long, because she's like, I just blew my opportunity of being named on other teams.
Right.
So looking at what's coming up, this is my last performance.
Yeah, kind of. Unless for some reason they let her go over Maria, but Maria was more solid.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think even Maria. I mean, look, there are plenty of other girls in Russia. I mean, there were other ones that didn't have a great showing at Junior Worlds, but that can. So you don't know who's going to show up next season, but I don't know that even look, Sotnikova's coming back. Anything could happen. I mean,
the Plashenko magic.
The Plashenko magic. Look, I mean, Tuktamisheva, Radianova. I mean, anyone. I think. Look, I would send 2 contenders and 1 person that's very marketable for the ratings. Who's going to give you a nice, pretty girl with a good personality? Send Radianova. Or they could pull a Gabby Douglas and send Sotnikova for the 3rd person. If they're going to go for 2 medals, 3 is a little asking for it. I know we're Russia and we can do it, but I think if you're going to have bet on 2 people who are consistent, and a Yulia, a Sotnikova, Radianova, like an old favorite, for the 3rd spot. I think for that token, like when Johnny Weir went to the 2nd Olympics and we were kind of like winking and nodding and sending him, I think that spot I would go with one of those girls. So
I know you guys aren't going to agree with this, but I kind of like Satskova.
I think she has nice qualities. Yeah,
I've been like the only one who can tolerate her. I
think her programs are boring as anything, but her skating's.
She has a good back. She has good.
Yeah, nice, and she doesn't have she's not chasing a briefcase.
Mm-hmm. Bingo.
Well, how do you think about Mamie Hara? Do you think that obviously she pulled up in the free? Only 2 spots for Japan. Does this mean that she gets one of them because she did so well here?
I would think so. I mean, I would think Marin Honda gets one, and Miyahara, I would think. No, actually, sorry, I forgot about Satoko.
Yeah, I think Satoko and Marin Honda. Although, let's see. I think
Satoko hip injuries have derailed careers of many skaters. I think that Satoko is perfectly capable of doing it, and is going to work her tail off to get there. But I'm wondering, the hip injuries have really caused inconsistency and derailed, many skaters. So I think we have to see, what the recovery is and what the real injury was. Yeah.
I don't think Higuchi's in the running. I mean, I think it'll come down to those 3, but.
And Mao, maybe we could get Mao the magic. She could go to that magic doctor in Germany that all of the athletes go to, and he can heal them.
I don't see that happening. Yeah. I don't even know if she'll try. I wonder.
Listen, I am all for sending her for that one moment in time, honey. We sent Takahashi to the last Olympics. Why not?
I know, but I still loved it. He was still top 10. I don't know.
I would love to see Mao. Okay.
I would too. But I don't know that she's even capable of it.
I will give one of America's spots to Mao Asada. Okay.
Exactly.
If she keeps the programs, go to Mao Asada.
Exactly.
And our other older statesman, Carolina Kostner.
Mm-hmm. This one was interesting. Because as I judged, especially in the long, I see the judges trying their hardest to help. Mm-hmm. I really feel like I do.
So it's not just me helping.
It's not, and I'm trying too, but I can see them giving her the benefit of the doubt each time. Mm-hmm. Something goes right, okay, they're going to give it a -1, not a -2, and like the step sequence, like let's go 3, like all this kind of stuff. I see them trying to get her up there, but she's got to help them out a little bit more than a single loop double toe.
I think, look, some of these comebacks seem to take 2 years. Remember, Ali Raisman had a horrible Worlds before the Olympics when she did so well. I think, look, Patrick was a mess last year and has at least been better this season. I think if she can be healthy, I think the highest I think I worked it is that she was third here, and that really is generous. If she's not doing a level 1 spin and with negative GOE in the short, and she's not almost falling on the flip, and the judges were helping her, but I think the stars need to align and she needs to be healthy, and it's still going to be tough next season, but I'm going to enjoy watching it.
Yeah. I'm intrigued what they pull out, because I have a feeling like Lori already was saving something for her for next season. So I'll be excited to see what it is.
Well,
I just both of her dresses.
Yes. Well, for both of you, what was your MK moment of the ladies for this World Figure Skating Championships?
This is very anti-Russia, but Pogorilaya. That was a moment.
Hate you. They're going to be like, you don't even know. Yeah, okay.
That was a moment. I mean, not getting off the ice, it was my moment.
Mm-hmm.
My moment is, it was very exciting for the two Canadian ladies, especially being in Canada. So it was like all this whole, to do. But I'm going to say Karen, because I have to eat my words. Because after 4 continents, I was like, she shouldn't go to Worlds. And then I just totally have to eat my words. So it's me being totally wrong about Karen Chen is my moment.
Well, I think my pro-America response has to be the American ladies getting 3 spots when there were quite a few doubts. But I'm also going to go with Medvedeva being back-to-back world champion, losing 1 competition in 2 years and deserving it. So I think that she really she's cranked out 2 great years and 3 great years when you go back to juniors, probably longer than that, behind her. So she is the Olympics, the champion absolute. I think that she has done it, and parabens. So as always, we want to remind you to, if when you bomb, just get off the ice, hold an edge, and look sexy. Bye, guys.
Bye.